What's going on, everybody? Let's Talk Jets Radio. Thank you to everybody that tuned into the stream tonight. Apologies if I end up rambling and this becomes a longer video here. I obviously had quite a few to drink during that stream in order to get through that game, especially that second half. But there are a lot of different things that I really want to dive into in this video. Obviously, if you're a Mets fan tonight, this night could not have possibly gone any worse. But at the very least, there's a lot of good things that you could look back on with the Mets here. And that's why I want to dive into them first, just for a minute or two, and then I'll get into all the Jet stuff. But there's such a contrast with the Mets team and the identity that they developed throughout this year and what we've ultimately been watching for the New York Jets for the last 14 years, including this year, which has ultimately just been a continuation of the last 13 years, just with names on paper that have a much greater resume. The New York Mets, and I said this a week ago, they were essentially at the exact same place that the New York Jets were at right now, where they were 11 games under 500. Everybody said they should be sellers at the deadline. The season was going nowhere. And rather than read the press clippings and buy into all those headlines, you actually saw leaders emerge. You had Lindor calling player-only meetings, and the team became fun. Like, the team developed an identity. You had the OMG stuff. You had the Grimace stuff. And they just embraced I don't want to say the lack of pressure, but the fact that everybody had written them off already. You saw a team that was loose, that was confident, that was having fun playing baseball, and they became essentially one of the best teams in baseball over the last 4 months. And I legitimately thank them for the ride that they gave, because as a fan, like, that's all you could really ask for, is that you have a team that is likable and a team that is watchable. And far too many seasons, the Jets have been neither of those. So it pains me that the Mets season ended, but you're always going to be able to look back and say 2024, there's going to be so many different games, the Alonso homer, the Lindor homers, just the ride and the moments that they gave you. You look back on, you're like, damn, that was awesome. And now shifting to the Jets, what do they give you other than pain and agony and miserable Monday mornings? There is so much that is wrong with this organization. And hearing Rodgers after the game talk about the lack of energy pregame after his interception, he did own the fact that, he missed some throws, he played bad. He was accountable for himself, but also to say anything about anybody else at this point, like the whole Rodgers experiment or experience, whatever you want to call it at this point, it's becoming something that I'm thinking is more or less a waste of time if he is not going to be above and beyond as far as this ultimate leader like a Francisco Lindor. If he's not capable of being that guy, which is desperately needed right now in that locker room, because you're not getting it from your head coach, you're not getting it from your GM who's a puppet, you're not getting it from your owner. Where else is it coming from? That's why Rodgers was brought here. He was brought here to save the Jets. Anybody who was trying to paint it any other way was kidding themselves. Aaron Rodgers was brought here to save the New York Jets. And the overall lack of energy that he talks about, that's a reflection on him. Whether he wants to own it or not, you're the guy. You're the guy that people listen to. You're the guy that everybody gravitates towards during training camp, during warm-ups. You set the tone, or you have the ability to. And then hearing him also say how the running game needs to get going. Listen, there were failures across the board, and during this 4-game losing streak, at various points, you could point to the offensive line, the cadence, the lack of run defense, the discipline. It's been somebody or something else every single time. You have a head coach that's a robot that reads the same script following the game that the last 3 coaches that got fired all read. You have a GM that's a puppet, an owner making deals with Reddick, deals for Adams, firing the head coach, making the trade for Rodgers. like I keep saying, whether the moves work out or not, you installed football guys to be football guys. Our owner's not a football guy. I wanted Rodgers. I still don't question the move, but that was ultimately the start of Woody Johnson going back to Woody Johnson. So now, when this season ultimately finishes up, where are the Jets? Where do they go from here? Are we trusting Woody Johnson and Corn Ferry to run a GM search? And then does that guy hire the head coach? Or do we have the head coach hire the GM, like we did with Joe Douglas when Adam Gase hired him? Because this organization just does everything ass backwards. And who's going to want to come here? The implications from this loss tonight, and obviously last week too with Buffalo, hate to say it, but it's more of the same. Like, what did you fire Saleh for? I said it at the time, the shakeup within the locker room, how it might affect and impact some guys. You don't see a team that's inspired. You see a team that just has that kind of deer in the headlights look. For the names that are on the back of those jerseys, for this team to get outscored 31-0 on primetime TV is an utter joke. And still, nobody's going to get fired. Nobody's going to get benched. This week, let's introduce Hassan Reddick, our new shiny toy, the new deodorant to wash away another loss. It's becoming so hard to do the same routine over and over again. And I feel for the fans. Every week I feel for the fans. If you went out there on a road trip, if you're a season ticket holder like myself, trying to figure out what to do with another 5 games, we all deserve so much better than this. And you really don't see any kind of light at the end of the tunnel. Because all those shiny toys that we talked about 2 years ago, that were going to be the next core of the New York Jets, right? The back-to-back draft classes where we got Revis and Debrick and Mangold and David Harris. We thought Garrett Wilson, Sauce, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, that was going to be it. Surround those guys with some talent. How could it not take off? And I'm still sitting here questioning, like I said, the names on the back of the jerseys compared to the product that we're seeing just doesn't make sense. Obviously, that puts a spotlight on the coaching staff, makes you question everything from game planning, game prep, the in-game adjustments, which tonight obviously didn't work. Just overall a lack of a sense of urgency to just go out and put a team away, to go out and score touchdowns. Why not go into a game with the mindset of, we're just going to score 40 points tonight? I don't know what it's going to take to fix the New York Jets, but it feels like they are so much further away than they are to being close. Ulbrich looks just as lost as Saleh did. Downing at times has moved the football. You saw 2 red zone touchdowns tonight at least. But the injuries are piling up. And not for nothing, because Ulbrich doesn't get to use the injury excuse. We saw the New York Jets last year with a secondary that was absolutely decimated go out there and beat a playoff caliber Eagles team. So if they could do it last year with Zach Wilson as their quarterback, sorry, there's no reason and no excuse why an Aaron Rodgers-led New York Jets with Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson, who also had a terrible drop tonight, and Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, who was invisible tonight, why this team can't find a way to consistently put up points. And why your defensive-minded head coach is now taking this defense backwards. Other than the Will McDonald sack, I don't remember many, if any, pressures tonight. they got picked apart by Russell Wilson, who made it look fucking easy. The New York Jets have lost 4 in a row, and they're 2-5. This all-in, push all your chips in season is crumbling before our eyes. And now we add another all-pro to the mix. How much talent can you ask for on a team? And at some point, like Tyson was trying to check me during the stream, at some point maybe I do have to look in the mirror and say, you know what? Maybe I did get it all wrong as far as the talent on this team. Maybe they're just not so good. But then you stop and say, you know what? If you put this group of talent, if you put this group of players on the Chiefs, on the Ravens, would Andy Reid, would Harbaugh, would they not have this team at 5 wins right now? Or is Rodgers just that washed up? And same old Jets, getting another guy past his prime, who at times, if I'm being honest tonight, looked almost disinterested. And for a guy that was just given everything he could possibly ask for, he's out of excuses. He's got everything and everyone, his offensive coordinator, his top 2 receivers, gave him Billy Turner last year. The New York Jets handed the keys of this franchise over to Aaron Rodgers. In 4 straight weeks, he's had the ball in his hands with the game on the line. And the Jets have not come away with points. Now, obviously, this week I shouldn't say with the game on the line, but that drive at the end of the half, ultimately, you put up points there, at minimum a field goal. You go into the half up 12 points. I think that's a completely different game. I think that set the tone. It changed the energy, like he said, which is also, like I was mentioning before, just such a poor reflection on leadership and this team's ability to handle adversity. They are so mentally soft. They think they're hot shit, and they've accomplished nothing. Talk to you guys tomorrow night.